Pintcast TV.
And we're back on the show. We want to let people know we've got a koozie contest going on. These are koozies, in case you don't know. They call them different things in different parts of the country, but I call it a koozie. We'll give it 100 of these things away, thanks to several sponsors. Arias Medical Staffing, I'm putting in the wrong direction to that corner. The Academy of Orthopedic Physical Therapy, and Owens Recovery Science. Radio Segway, Academy of Orthopedic Physical Therapy. On the show right now, Jo Manal. Tara, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Let's see if we can just turn your volume down just a little bit, just so I don't hear myself, because no one wants to hear me. They want to hear you. How's
that?
That sounds good. Tara, you're the first person I'm looking at a lineup that this is the first time we've met in person, but I was there at your 2017 Maley lecture. So I was kind of like there watching you up here. And now we get to talk, and I get to ask you questions. First of all, congratulations on doing something like a Maley lecture. That's a big deal.
Thank you very much. It was very exciting. Stressful, but it was super exciting.
Well, you mentioned stressful, and actually in your Maley lecture, you talked about the process going through it, because it's close to a year, right, to prepare that. When you start with that, with trying to sum up an idea or a concept or an emotion or you're trying to transmit, how do you begin?
Yeah, it took a long time. When I say a long time, it took a long time. So I literally had pads of paper next to the bed. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and scribble something down until I had piles. And I'm not joking. I actually still have the folder. It was piles of paper. And it was like, I just needed to play it out in my head 1,000 times. And then when I sat down and looked at them, I was like, what are they saying? And then I was able to really narrow it down. And that helped a lot. But I had to let all of that happen. I don't think I could have rushed it, any faster.
Yeah. Well, I saw it live, and then saw you were going to get to be on the show. And I said, well, I want to rewatch this because I want to make sure I can ask questions from the moment. Really the first story, and I'm glad that you use a lot of stories in a talk, which makes it memorable. A guy with a communications background loves and respects that. You talked about going deep with an article from the Washington Post. That was like really the first story you told. Variability in practice is what that was about, and less science and more art. And we want it to be, we don't want to take art out of it, right? But this is a science. We're professionals. We're healthcare professionals. Talk about that and why you brought that particular story to your lecture. Maybe just give the audience who wasn't there, didn't get a chance to kind of know a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it was One Bum Knee meets 5 physical therapists, and it was a little undercover, almost secret shopper. They sent a reporter to 5 physical therapy facilities, and she told the same story at all of them. And she got 5 completely different diagnoses, but more importantly, because the words don't always matter, right? Like what you call it, but 5 completely different treatment plans. And so it basically said, is this even a real science, this physical therapy thing? This was 1994, and I graduated in 93. So this was, right when I was entering the profession. And, one of the things that we struggle with is this concept of standardization and customization. And the idea is that if you customize something all the way, then it is usually not very reproducible. And if you standardize something so much, it doesn't adapt to fit the right person. So if they're a continuum, they're not a mutually exclusive decision, right? So you need the most amount of standardization with the customization to the individual, and that's what gets you reliable and reproducible results. And so that was really my pitch, if you will, in the talk, was balancing these two, and how do we get to that meaningful balance point, which is really perfect customized care for our individual patients, but in a standardized, reproducible way, so that we can get the best outcomes as soon as possible for, quite honestly, the cheapest way we can.
Yeah, well, you've got students commenting. Cam Asumi, a fresh grad, but he was a student when he saw your talk. How do we do since then, right? Because I'm sure when you stand on that stage, and it's a literal stage, but it's also a metaphorical stage. If you're speaking to the profession on that, how do you feel about what we did after we heard your words?
Yeah, I have to say we've come a really long way. I really have seen so many places where there's been improvement. there's a less resistance to the concept, I think, because I think it was misrepresented sometimes. It sounded like you're doing it wrong and you have to do it only one way, and it's cookie cutter. There's all those stories, cookie cutter recipe, I'm smart, I don't need that. I feel like we've gotten past a lot of that. I'll be honest, shockingly, I think COVID is turning over that leaf for people who might not have made the transition before, because when you think about what's going on now, first of all, people had to pivot and treat differently than they ever did before.
Yes.
And there's a lot of things that have forced you to do that in your career. You can kind of do it your way for a really long time, and people couldn't do it their way. And so that has changed people's attitudes. I think people see, wow, really actually something good came out of it in that way.
Right.
Also, I always think the easiest way to think about standardization and customization is when you're scared. Meaning that you don't feel that you know how to do something. Like, I don't know how to treat that patient, right? That's when you're like, tell me, just tell me. And now all of a sudden you're totally open to, standardization. Just tell me what to do.
Right.
I think that as we think about not only switching for people that did telehealth, or as your last speaker talked about, they switched the format in which they delivered the care that they did, or their business. Someone who knows how to do it, just tell me. Just give me the quick and dirty. Tell me how to do this, because I'm doing it tomorrow. And so people are much more open, I think, to that concept now and see why it's valuable. And if you have to reinvent the wheel and everybody reinvents the wheel, it's wasteful, right? So instead, you give me the quick and dirty shortcut. Then I customize it. Whatever you said, I'm going to do it better. No one said I wasn't, but get me the shortcut, get me to the starting line, and then I'll do my thing. And so I think that's another place where you really see people being more open as they've had to make so many switches in COVID.
Yeah, I love the fact that you use quick and dirty. I use that all the time. It's one of my favorite sayings. Like, listen, I got to walk in. I'm going to do something right now. I need the quick and dirty. Just make sure I don't look horribly bad. I can figure out most of it, but just make sure I have the stable datum, right? The thing I need to know.
Exactly.
Talking about the stable datum, right? The thing that we need to know, the thing that we want to make sure that if we're going to customize, right, we want to make sure we're coming from a place of really good information. The Academy of Orthopedic Physical Therapy, a great resource. We just gave away, we had a contest giving away current concepts of orthopedic physical therapy, which is a great prep course for the OCS examination. But that's one of many, many educational offerings. If you're thinking about bettering yourself as an orthopedic physical therapist, where better than the Academy of Orthopedic Physical Therapy? Talk a little bit about, there's too many for us to get into.
Yeah, of course.
A couple of those, or at least maybe talk about why those are so solid.
Yeah. So one of the things about the Academy, it's really provided for different kinds of education for its entire lifetime. That's actually one of its tenets, right? So they do programming at CSM, as many people have experienced or had happen. So you're getting that kind of quality. And then the idea is, well, how do we package this in a way it's more usable for people? So this takes us to these monographs, this kind of monograph kind of concept. And so the ISCs, or independent study courses, are almost like book chapters. They have cases in them. They're all different kinds of things that our members and non-members can access. We have even people who buy them internationally, and they are vetted and they're put through a full editorial process. Even the decision making of which things are chosen goes through a full editorial process. So you can really they're reliable. You can rely that the information is accurate and timely.
Right.
And so they become staples for people. And interestingly, the old folk like them in print, and now we're moving to a learning management system, and we're finding people are gonna accept the digital version too, but we still have print, don't worry. But people are starting to get more flexible in how they take these learning opportunities.
Yeah, a lot of those different monographs, those are called, coming from a more of a print model, but those monographs are available digitally. Like it gets very, very broad in terms of current concepts of orthopedic physical therapy, broad, and then you can go into specific body regions, knee, shoulder, hip, very, very specific. And these are made. We've done some episodes with the Academy of Orthopedic Physical Therapy before. You can take a listen to those on iTunes. Really, really highlighting these are made by the industry. The people writing the papers wind up referencing themselves in these courses because the leaders are creating them. That's got to feel pretty good to put out great. It's got to feel pretty good to put out great information that just goes to seek and do good.
Yeah. And, as you mentioned, they really do run the gamut, right? So the concussion's a really popular one right now, as you can imagine. But, they'll do things on imaging. So they're actually bringing forward niche practice from the special interest group of the academy. So there's all these different levels of content. And so some of it is body region and some of it, one is tissue tolerances. So we're really looking at, hey, am I actually pushing the areas that I'm treating to the level that I should be? So it's like, it's all over. And now they're going to be moving into some micro learning. So you're going to start to see there's a research one that's really just a webinar. There's no actual print. And so it's all about the interface. There's a running one. And in that there's cases and actually running examples and there's even quizzes embedded into that. So you're starting to see this shift into a new world and a new learning management system that's going to look at micro learning and some of those other things we know to be really successful.
Some of these courses, some of these monographs, the reading list alone is worth the price of admission, because if you can figure out, what's from the reading list, what's included in the course, you've got yourself several years of worth of reading. I almost sprained a wrist just scrolling down through one to prepare for an interview. So we want to make sure people know that is out there at orthopt.org. I believe we're also going to kick off very soon another contest. We just gave away access to the current concepts of orthopedic physical therapy. We're going to be giving away more opportunities, so make sure you follow us on all the social media channels at PT Pintcast to find out how you can win that. Now, we just say, listen, if you want to be a better orthopedic physical therapist, where else should you go than the Academy of Orthopedic Physical Therapy, orthopt.org. That's all I want to say right there. Look at that on the live stream too. Koozie contest going on right now at ptpintcast.com. Let's ask this. How do you think things are going to change in the next 3 years? It's been 3 years since your Maley lecture. What do you see in terms of changing in the profession, specifically in the world of orthopedic physical therapy? What's coming on the horizon there?
I'll tell you, I think one thing that, again, I think we're going to see this as a result of COVID as well. First of all, people got a chance to see how much physical therapy is the right amount. I call it right sizing. And so I think we're going to see some more right sizing. Hey, they did okay when they were away for this long, but this was the limit. We're going to see people who didn't seek care and what were some of those barriers that they had. And I think that will improve our access to people who haven't been seeking care. And we're going to see the consequences of that as well. And the other thing that I think is there's been an opportunity for shifting, right? So I know a lot of physical therapists that moved into urgent care settings, and that they were moved there by their facilities to help manage the load because they couldn't handle it. And now they know what the value of a musculoskeletal expert in urgent care or primary care is. And they're not going to be coming back out. It's going to be a new niche and a new place where we have a lane, which we should be getting into. And I think that we just got thrown into it in a way where we were put our toe in the water before. And then clearly the strides in telehealth. If not the therapist and our advocacy at the APTA level, then the patients, they're going to fight to say, don't take this back away from me. When this is how I want to do it, this is the way I want to access my care, you don't have the right. And so we're going to have telehealth, I think, to stay pretty quickly. I think it's leaps and bounds from where we would have been. All of this is really, that's musculoskeletal. It's other areas too, but we are right there at the forefront of that.
Yeah, I can almost actually hear the PT and the ED people screaming in agreement. We're going to have Mike Lebec on the show in a couple of days. I'm sure he'll touch on that, as well as playing his guitar. He's got a new song out. We're going to play it. It's PT related, so don't worry about it. Stick around for that. Tara, the last thing we do with each guest is your parting shot. That's your last chance for a mic drop moment. With the audience of orthopedic physical therapists. Let's go to the profession. Let's keep it nice and wide. Oh, by the way, what are you drinking?
Oh, I'm drinking Mick Ultra.
All right, we got to watch the carbs. You know what I mean? I'm doing Cat number 9 for my third drink of the night.
All right.
Got to change it up a little bit. So your parting shot, last chance for kind of a mic drop moment. What would you want to leave with the audience to go away with?
What I'd like to say is be thinking about how you're creating your communities. Recognizing what we have learned and what's so important about community while we've been separated from one another. We're finding cool ways to get together that we wouldn't have done before. And so there's less excuses now as to why. And think about how you find your community. And I'd like you to think about the Academy of Orthopedic Physical Therapy. For those of you in that profession, you can find people who are in your niche area, but more importantly, you can find people who aren't. So when you need advice and you need that quick and dirty, give me the lowdown. I need to get in here and treat this. Tell me what to do so I get this right in the next 5 minutes. You know who to reach out to give you that information. So really take an opportunity now to reestablish community and be thinking about how you do that to go move yourself forward professionally.
Tara Jo, it's going to be a hashtag, right? Tara Jo says hashtag quick and dirty, right? You need
quick
that.
And dirty. I stole it. My bad.
I like it. No, I love that thing. Look for those communities. And as we kick this virtual happy hour off on the eve of what we wanted to be together, we can't, but we will soon be. That's a great community, right? The American Physical Therapy Association. Here's the best part. We still are, right? We're still a community, physically distant, socially connected. So that's great advice. Tara Jo, appreciate meeting you virtually.
Yeah, you do.
Clink glasses in person. Hopefully we can do it at the Centennial Celebration coming up in February at CSM.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Coming back. Matt Tuttle is going to be back with us from the Denver Nuggets. Hang tight. Don't go anywhere. This is PT Pintcast virtual next happy hour.